Sometimes I picture reality like this endless tree, its branches just going on forever. Each one is kind of like a different life, or maybe even a whole universe if you think about it. I guess right now I'm just sitting on one branch. Every little choice, every random thing that happens, it's like another branch splits off. It's weird to think about. Most of the time, in most of those universes, my story probably just ends. But somewhere, there's one where I keep going. I don't even notice all the other versions of me out there. It's kind of unsettling, honestly. Sometimes I feel lucky, but then I wonder if it's just because this is the branch I can actually see. Maybe luck is just being here right now. I'm just one leaf, kind of hanging on in this forest that never really ends. It's a strange feeling, and for now, I guess, I'm still here. When I look up at the night sky, I can't help but notice how quiet it feels. It's not just the light that reaches us, it's this sense of distance and a kind of silence that's hard to describe. Sometimes it almost feels like the universe is just out there, not really saying anything back. That vastness can make me feel pretty small. I guess that's why we end up searching for meaning, in the quiet and in each other. It's kind of comforting in a way. And sometimes, in all that silence, I realize I'm listening for my own voice. Sometimes I just try to wrap my head around the idea of cosmic time. It's almost impossible. The universe is nearly 14 billion years old. 14 billion. Our entire history, everything we know, barely registers. It's like we're a blink, or maybe even less. I read somewhere that if you squeezed all of cosmic history into a single year, humans would show up in the last seconds of December 31st. That's kind of humbling, honestly. It makes me wonder, are we just a footnote in this almost endless story? Sometimes it feels that way. And then there's space itself. Our galaxy alone has hundreds of billions of stars. And there are billions of galaxies out there. It's honestly overwhelming. We live on this tiny speck, circling an average star, tucked away in some forgotten corner of just one galaxy. Sometimes I catch myself feeling really small. The light from some of those distant galaxies started traveling before our solar system even existed. That's wild to think about. The universe isn't just big. It's, kind of empty too. But there's so much potential in all that emptiness. I'm not sure what to make of that. And if the multiverse is real, well, then this universe is just one of an infinite number. That idea kind of blows my mind. Imagine if every possible outcome, every little choice, spun off a new world. It's hard to picture, honestly. Most of those worlds would probably be empty or cold or just strange, like an endless library full of stories no one ever reads. So, what does it even mean to be human in all of this? I guess we're just a temporary arrangement of matter, a brief spark of consciousness. Soft sigh. Our lives play out on a stage so tiny, it's almost invisible. Sometimes that makes me feel a little lost. We really are the dust of countless worlds, a fleeting thought in the mind of the cosmos. It's a strange feeling, and yet somehow we're here. We get to notice all of this. Soft chuckle. That's kind of amazing, isn't it? Just being aware, even for a moment, I think that's a miracle in its own way. Maybe that's enough. Soft, uncertain pause. At least I hope so. When I think about quantum suicide, I picture someone sitting quietly in a sealed room. There's this device and a trigger, just waiting. If that tiny quantum particle spins up, the gun goes off. If it spins down, nothing happens. And right there, the universe splits. In one world, the person's gone. In the other, they're still here, maybe a little shaken, but alive. It's strange, but the survivor never really knows what happened. They just keep feeling lucky, over and over. Every time they pull that trigger, it's like a new path opens up. I guess what gets me is how lonely that must feel, walking forward, always surviving, but knowing deep down there's a cost. It's, yeah, it's a lot to take in. You ever wonder what all this means for, like, our own minds? If the many worlds thing is real, then I guess our awareness is just this really delicate thread, always following the path where we make it through. Every time something almost happens, or you bounce back from something tough, maybe there's another version of you that just didn't. It's kind of wild to think about. Like, we're just the sum of all these lucky breaks, the ones who made it, out of a million versions that didn't. So, your life isn't really one neat story. It's more like the last page of a bunch of stories that ended early. The universe doesn't exactly hand out purpose, you know? It's just something you feel, right here, on your own little branch. And somewhere out there, every possible version of your life is happening. That's, honestly, a little overwhelming. So which one is really you? I mean, I don't even know. Maybe all of them are, or maybe none. It's kind of a weird thought, but honestly, it does feel a bit lonely, knowing you're cut off from all those other versions of yourself. I guess your mind is like a lantern in a pitch-black forest. You only get to see your own path. Everything else, those other lives, those other yous, they're just out there somewhere, but you can't ever reach them. Sometimes it feels like being stuck on an island in the middle of an endless sea of what-ifs. You're the only one living your timeline. That's kind of comforting, but also a little sad. All those other versions, they're like ghosts. You never see them, but sometimes you wonder. In the end, you just keep moving forward with your own story. And well, that story, it's yours, no one else's. You know, the idea of quantum suicide is, well, it's strange. In theory, the person who survives just keeps going, never really able to experience their own end. But honestly, that kind of survival comes at a cost. Every time, there's another version of you that doesn't make it. Somewhere, in some world, someone loses you. Families grieve. It's hard to wrap your head around. This isn't the kind of immortality anyone dreams about. It feels more like a burden than a gift. You'd end up feeling like a ghost, or maybe just out of place, like you're not supposed to be here. I guess in a way, it's a kind of loneliness, one you can't really escape, and you'd never see the pain left behind. I imagine the weight of that would get to you. Maybe you'd start to wonder if you're just lucky or if something's wrong. Is living forever really what we want? I'm not sure. It sounds exhausting, honestly. Maybe it's the fact that life ends that makes our choices matter. If you had endless moments, would any of them really feel special? I don't know. It's like being stuck in a moment that never ends. You're alive, but are you really living? Immortality, in this sense, just feels empty. Like an echo that never quite fades. And in the end, maybe all that's left is an empty hall and a quiet question about what really matters. Sometimes I wonder, what if the multiverse isn't just out there, but actually inside us? Like, what if all those possible realities are really just different versions of ourselves, tucked away in our own minds? I try to picture my mind as a kind of quantum system, always branching out, exploring every possibility at once. It's a little overwhelming, honestly. For a split second, maybe I am every version of myself, every choice, every path I could have taken. But the me I know is just the loudest one in a whole crowd of possibilities. The rest? They're like echoes, regrets, old memories, that weird feeling of déjà vu. I guess I'm not just living one life. I'm carrying the faint traces of all the lives I could have lived. Sometimes it feels like we're haunted, not by ghosts, but by the people we might have been. Our minds can feel like graveyards for all those choices we never made. And here I am, just one person, walking the single path that actually became real. It's a little lonely sometimes. Maybe it's not the universe that's splitting. Maybe it's me. I carry the weight of all those other selves every single day. They're like silent passengers, always with me, even if I don't notice them most of the time. I guess those are the real ghosts in my machine. And honestly, I think that's kind of beautiful. So, if you really follow this idea all the way to the end, what actually happens when time itself runs out? I mean, it's kind of hard to picture, right? The universe would be, well, just cold and empty. No more life anywhere. It's honestly a little unsettling to think about. But then I wonder, what if somehow there's still one consciousness left? Like someone or something that just keeps going, even as everything else fades away. That last observer would be, I don't know, impossibly old. And probably lonelier than anything I can really imagine. Maybe it would find itself in a reality that somehow dodges the whole heat death thing. I'm not sure how that would even work, honestly. What would it even notice at that point? Just darkness, I guess. Maybe a single thought drifting in a mind that can't let go. Living forever like that, if you can call it living, almost sounds more like a curse than anything else. I guess, in a way, it would be the last bit of proof that the many worlds idea was real. But who would even be left to care? It's like being the ruler of a kingdom with no one in it, or a god in a universe that's already gone. Just stuck there, with nothing but your own thoughts, forever. That's a pretty heavy idea. I can't help but feel a little sad for that last spark, like the universe's final ghost, just hanging on. It's almost like a silent scream, echoing out into a place where no one's left to hear it. That's tough to sit with. In the end, maybe there's just one witness left, and maybe that's all there ever was. I find myself left with more questions than answers. These ideas really push the edge of what I can wrap my head around. The universe, it seems, gives us possibilities instead of clear truths. Things like the many worlds theory or quantum suicide, they feel like distant echoes from the edge of what we can know. Still, we keep living, making choices, loving, losing, sometimes feeling lucky, sometimes full of regret. Most days I just assume this reality is the only one I get. But sometimes I wonder, maybe we're just one note in a song that never really ends. Even if that's true, it doesn't really change how I have to live. I still have to act like my choices matter. But it does shift how I see things. The universe isn't just a lonely stage, but maybe an endless theater full of possibilities. Sometimes I imagine the silence between the stars is crowded with all the versions of us that could have been. It's a little unsettling, honestly, standing at the edge of something so huge and strange. I guess our sense of self is always shifting, never quite solid. The rules of this universe might be way stranger than I ever thought. We're all just trying to play our part on this infinite board, I guess, humbled by how small we really are. Sometimes I wonder, is it better to live one life, knowing it ends, or to go on forever, built on the shadows of a million other selves? I don't know. Maybe the answer is just lost in the echo of a choice. When I think about that lone blue planet drifting in the dark, I'm reminded how each of us is both fragile and full of possibility. Maybe what matters most is simply showing up for our own small part in the universe, even if we never see the whole script.